Part 3. Here we go. So in book 2, I know we're only getting to book 2 at this point, right? Can you imagine what this is like in the classroom? So in book 2, we have an opening where Satan is now sitting on his great throne. This throne has been built called Pandemonium by all devils, right? And this looks suspiciously similar to the Vatican in Rome. And while Milton had been to Rome and really loved the architecture, he's not very fond of Catholics, right? And so by using the seat of Catholicism as the seat of Satan, there's a little bit of an anti-Catholic tone there, right? But he points out that they're still at war. As he says, I give not heaven for lost, right? Won't give up. You know, we're gonna go back. We're gonna get it, right? Because nobody envies us here, right? The happier state in heaven which follows dignity might draw envy from each inferior. But who here will envy whom the highest place exposes foremost to stand against the thunderer's aim? Your bulwark and condemns the greatest share of endless pain. In other words, we're in a place, in a position that nobody would envy us, right? Nobody's going to care about this. A little further down, it says in line 39, surer to prosper than prosperity could have assured us. And notice the repetition of the S's, right? The footnote talks about this a little bit, or draws our attention to it, the play. But notice also the S kind of prefigures Satan's future as a snake, after all, right? All those S's. I just realized we lost our castle. Sorry about that. Anywho, so the question is, what do we do? Right? Satan wants to get heaven back, so how are we going to manage this? What is it we're going to be capable of? Moloch is the first demon to speak to the question. And Moloch is a fierce and violent demon. And he argues for open warfare. He doesn't care. Let's just go in with our guns blazing and, let's see what happens, right? Better to go out fighting than anything else, right? That seems to be his idea, right? Let's just fire back at God, right? And it says, he ended frowning and his look denounced desperate revenge and battle dangerous to less than gods. Now, on the other hand, a god named Belial stands up. And Belial is basically empty, right? You've ever heard the expression an empty suit? He's just like an empty devil. There's nothing to him. And the argument that he has is, let's not do anything. Because, God will probably ease up. You can't stay angry forever, right? Now, he's not talking about seeking forgiveness. He's not talking about changing anything or, saying we were wrong. He's just saying, let's just hang out. And eventually God will kind of get tired and he just won't care anymore and we can come back, right? I mean, that's essentially his argument. Let's just do nothing. Of course, the idea that Moloch has doesn't appeal to Belial because he said there is something worse than where we are now. If we fight again, we might die. We might completely cease to even exist in any way whatsoever, right? God could just wipe us out so we are gone. We'd rather be here, right? Things could always get worse. And frankly, Belial doesn't want anything to get worse. So he is advising no more war, don't make God angrier, that kind of thing. Mammon speaks next. right? And Mammon was a demon who, even when he was an angel in heaven, always looked down at the golden streets rather than up to God, right? And he's saying, let's just make the best of what we got. Let's put up some curtains over here. In other words, the idea is that we're not going to defeat God in open warfare. And we can't just sit around doing nothing. So let's just make the best of things, right? Kind of, get some cushions over here on the side, maybe put a TV screen up over here. Finally, Beelzebub speaks. And Beelzebub's like having none of it. He said, this is hell. This is a prison. This is a dungeon. We're not going to frilly it up with, nice draperies. And we can't defeat God in straight-on warfare because we've already tried that, right? The best we have, though, is there is another option. Now I read. Begins around line 345. There is a place, if ancient and prophetic fame in heaven err not, another world. You may have heard that expression, another world. The happy seat of some new race called man, about this time to be created like to us, the less in power and excellence, but favored more of him who rules above. So there's this new creature, this new creation, and God really loves his new creation. What if we could get to them? As he says, seduce them to our party, right? Make them possess as our own and drive us as we were driven, the puny inhabitants, or if not drive, seduce them to our party, that their God may prove their foe, and with repenting hand abolish his own works, right? In other words, who knows? We can seduce humankind to our side, and maybe God will just wipe them out. It would be great. It will destroy his creation. Won't he be so mad? Right? This is wonderful. Now, the thing about these thoughts from Beelzebub, is they're really from Satan himself. Right? That Satan is actually kind of mind controlling Beelzebub at this point. Right? Which, is not really the nicest thing to do to your best friend. Right? So the next question they have is, okay, well, who's going to go to this place? Well, nobody's even been out of hell. They don't even know how to get out of hell. They don't know what's waiting for them out there. Nobody volunteers. Everybody's too scared. So Satan himself volunteers, which is actually all on the plan anyway. Because Satan, he kind of wants to get the hell out of hell. He wants to fly up and leave. Even if it's to go someplace where he might have some real issues, he just wants to get out of there. So he leaves the devils behind. And you should read about all the things that they do. It's kind of very funny, right? Some of them play little games like their Olympics. Some of them philosophize. Some of them go exploring. On the way out of way out of hell, Satan's way is blocked, however, by two figures. One is sin, and the other is death. Satan, sin, and death form an evil trinity. And one of the questions in the discussion thread is about this evil trinity, so I don't want to go into it too much. But sin was born from Satan up in heaven, comes out of his head, his forehead, poof, like somebody you may have heard from in ancient Greek mythology. Took the shape of a woman and was so attractive that Satan fornicated with his own daughter, if you want to call it a daughter. Yeah, not good. Death is the product of that. Now, there's a lot more going on with this, so I'll leave it up to you to do the analysis of that. But it's a very dodgy relationship that the three of them have. It's highly dysfunctional. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Ultimately, however, they let him out. Okay? They let Satan out. Well, once the gates of hell have been opened, however, they cannot be closed again. And all the other demons eventually can make their way out because those gates are now open. Right? Now, in between hell doesn't go straight to earth. There's an area of hell called chaos. That's not area of hell, I'm sorry. It's an area outside of hell called chaos. Okay? And chaos reigns in this region, and Satan has to get past chaos as well. But he works his charm on chaos. Basically says, you're going to work out. Things are going to be better for you. I have my way. Right? And convinces him to let him through on his way to earth. And that's where we leave off at the end of book 2.